Tychus, where do we have him?
Well, I think this week is not a lone wolf week.
Why not?
I don't think lone wolf works really well here. I guess I'm not really sure about that. So Tychus, you can I mean Sam can snipe the Reanimator like one
As long
shot.
as it's his.
Yeah. And I believe Sirius is really tanky if you have enough turrets, and you can also just have and you can also heal your ally by using nurse or rattlesnake. Yeah.
So
And other than that, I mean he does have a lot of crowd controls. I mean Tychus grenade and Vega's
mind
mind
control.
control. Yeah. So if you're not playing Lone Wolf this week, you might want to just let Sam go away and to just go around the map and snipe the reanimator, and other four outlaws stays together with your ally.
Okay.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
So where do you have him?
Latter, I guess, because he can support his ally by healing them and give them bonus damage output. So probably I'm thinking top B or like low A. I think low A. Yeah.
How about you, Sixbender?
I'd personally stay all with my ally. I wouldn't even have like Sam running around, especially since Sam running around is a very interesting term when he walks so slowly. He only walks fast during the cooldown of his super cloak, and outside of that, when that's on cooldown, he is slow. But anyways, that's I'd just stick all of my ally, and I'd say, yeah, he's A tier on the basis of, well, he can buff his ally, he can heal his ally, and he can crowd control Amon into oblivion. He can stun lock Amon so hard that Amon will uninstall the game because he couldn't play the game anyways. He was just watching his units get ragdolled by Tychus' crowd control effects.
So
I would say he's A tier.
How about you? How about you, Herman? Do you agree with A?
I said it's A. Yeah, it's A. And I think maybe P0 is better than P1. I'm not really sure about that because P1, like the outlaw, is really expensive. Yeah.
It depends on what you prefer. I like P1 personally, but P0, P1, P3 is a good option. Just permanent Odin. Permanent Odin's good.
Doesn't really have anything to do because half of the end is not yours.
Yeah. Well, kill the stuff that's not yours anyways, and then you just have literally permanent Odin.
Yeah.
I like permanent Odin.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with Tychus is basically the fact that he can't teleport his ally around, but he has so much crowd control and ally buff that he's like Dahaka.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Vorazun, where do we have him?
Vorazun, you can teleport your ally around a lot. Like a lot. Each Dark Pylon has a separate cooldown on Dark Pylon recall, and you can just keep teleporting yoinking your ally all over the place. It's great. Unfortunately, you run into the P2 Phoenix problem of lack of substance in your army because like you do not want any of your units to be taking hits. It doesn't matter what you make. If you make Dark Templar, you don't want them to be taking hits. If you make Stalkers, you don't really want them to be taking too many hits. If you make Void Rays, you don't want them to be taking hits. It's just you don't want to get hit. However, you have a time stop, you have black hole, so that's incredible crowd control. You have the ability to teleport your ally extensively, so much ally teleporting, and yourself teleporting, just so much teleporting everyone. You can just have a Dark Pylon slap down on the objective, and now you can't lose because the objective died because neither of you were in position, because if a wave goes for the objective, you just summon you and your ally both instantly. And you have black hole and time stop. So if you don't do it fast enough, you just tell Amon to just give me a few seconds and sit in a black hole. Have fun with that. She is at least A tier. I might make Vorazun my S tier, but I think that is a little bit of a stretch.
A little bit of a stretch, especially with a non-tanking thing.
It's just Dark Pylons
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
really good mobility.
Yeah.
And Time Stop and Black Hole are really good crowd control.
Crowd controls. Yeah.
Like she's got great crowd control and great mobility. But she doesn't have any ally buff outside of that. It's just that I actually value the mobility a lot higher than the ally buff. And crowd control and mobility is something that we haven't seen quite to that level for anyone else except Kerrigan, who I think is in a pretty similar level to Vorazun.
Phoenix.
No, Phoenix doesn't have the same level of crowd control. Stasis is not nearly as good.
I mean mobility.
His Arbiter Stasis. He has the same mobility, yeah.
Yeah.
Kerrigan, Vorazun, and Phoenix all have good mobility, but the problem was that mobility and crowd control. Kerrigan can offer the crowd control, though not as good as Vorazun.
Yes. Anyway.
Yeah.
How about you, Herman?
But Kerrigan also offers tanking. Yeah. Anyways, Vorazun, I think A.
Yeah, I think she is also A, and I still want to mention the Dark Pylon Wall. It's really good against trickles. I mean ground trickles, not air unit trickles. So, so you maybe want to build cannons and maybe put some Corsairs on top of your Dark Pylon Wall, and your allies should also have some static defense on your Dark Pylon Wall, so that you don't need to worry about trickle anymore.
So where do you have him?
Also A, because she has too much crowd controls, and don't forget the Oracle's stasis trap.
Sure. Zagara. Where do we have him?
Zagara, I mean, I think she is pretty good this week, in my mind. But she can't really help Ally though. Yeah, she can't really help Ally, but she can just, if you just see a Reanimator and you can just teleport on top of it and kill it if it is yours. P3, I mean, yeah. So if you want to buff your ally, P3 might not be a choice. But I think P3 works really well this week because it's really easy to just go snipe a Reanimator that is yours. And you just use Scourge, Lings, Banelings, F2 A move. Yeah. Letters, low A tier probably.
Remember when Stixbender said he had a commander who was possibly worse than Han and Horner?
Oh, I thought she was definitely worse than Han and
Horner. Remember how Zagara has to rally her units all the way around the map just to get to the front?
Remember how she has to worry about her Banelings and Scourge trying to crash into things, which already is a problem because you need enough Banelings and Scourge to kill everything, and now some of them are dying to things they can't even damage? Remember how Reanimators are constantly sending new units that you have to spend Banelings and Scourge on, and if you aren't careful with your Banelings, they're going to just lose 10 Banelings to blowing up a random Immortal Reanimator reanimated, and then it'll just reanimate it again? Poor Zagara is gonna have a terrible time here trying to get her Banelings and Scourge to actually kill stuff without getting blown up by things that aren't their polarity, and then dying because they attacked on a unit that was reanimated anyways. And then, yes, you have to rally all the way from your base unless you're using proxy hatcheries. The one
good idea,
though.
though. Proxy hatcheries
is at least P2 Zagara exists and is good. It's actually pretty good.
Aberration.
So to be honest, I think that when I originally thought about Zagara being worse than Han and Horner, I forgot about P2, and now I am remembering about P2 and saying, you know what? She might actually be all the way up in C tier. Literally F tier without P2 and C tier with P2 is what I would feel like saying almost.
So Banelings will attack the Polarity unit, like if you just A move, right?
If you A move them, they won't attack something that's the wrong polarity. But the problem is that a lot of the time Banelings get their damage done, especially against hit scans. So if you're against Terran with Marines or something, Banelings get a lot of their damage done not because they collided with the target, but because they were walking up to the target, got shot by the target, and that caused them to blow up the target. Now,
Those
if
aerial
you're
attack,
getting
or
shot at by
aerial-
enemies who are the wrong polarity, and then you're going to get body blocked by those enemies who are the wrong polarity
Oh.
when trying to hit an attack wave. Remember, Zagara is all melee. And so if you're
Yeah.
trying to fight, like if you are facing against a big ball of enemy Marines, that should be a really good situation. And yet you're getting body blocked by Marines that aren't your polarity. It's just
And also herself's the baiting ability also. Yeah.
yeah, her Baneling barrage will just blow up on the first thing it hits, even if it's the wrong polarity. So then that is
Yeah.
just going to waste itself on the wrong polarity. Yeah, it's just yeah. But if you have Mass Aberration Corruptor of P2, that'll actually work. I forgot about that. That'll actually work. So you can put her in C tier for that. It's that good. It's better than Elorak levels of that good to use P2. But without P2, she's awful. She's just awful. Absolutely awful without P2.
Poor Hot and Honor don't have a friend anymore.
Yeah. They were supposed to have a friend, and then Zagara said, "I have an idea."
Have prestige too.
So
And
do
Hot and Honor
you
said, "Oh well,
do you
we don't
agree,
have an idea."
Herman, that Zagara is C, or
Yeah,
would you like to defend?
Forget, like how baiting and Zergling is really bad against Polarity. Yeah, I only thought about the Reanimator stuff, so that's why I said P3. Yeah.
Even then,
And-
Reanimators are not great news for Banelings and Scourge. It's not like the end of the world, but Reanimators.
It's 450
are
health. It's almost as much health as the Poopigator. Wait, 400 health, I think, for the
Yeah, it's
Reanimator.
400. Poops
It's
are
400.
like
Poop's 450,
450.
so it's almost like a poop. So you have to throw
Yes.
stuff at it. Anyway, so do you agree with C, or would you like to defend A, Herman?
No, not A anymore. I kind of forget that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, just
So
you
you-
put her in C tier, I guess.
Yeah.
all right. Zeratul, where do we have him?
Zeratul, he has a big ally buff. He has good mobility for himself, but not for his ally. And he has the ability to just suddenly summon stuff to help his ally if need be. And he has the ability to tank with a decently tanky hero unit if you're using correctly, and with Zealot Legion, which is great. Yeah. It's decently, the Zealot Legion is decently tanky. Avatar of Essence, though, is your biggest, like, the biggest thing that will give Zeratul a claim to fame. Its Avatar of Essence is a big, huge 100% attack speed increase and 40% damage reduction to all friendly units in an area. By the way, these damage reductions from different sources are additive. So if you have, say, a Lone Wolf Tychus, with this Avatar of Essence, unless I'm mistaken, it's additive. So they'll have 90% damage reduction on their dudes.
Cool.
I have to double check that actually, and more importantly, I have to double check.
Wait, hold
a
on.
second. Does that not mean if you have Lone Wolf Tychus sitting under an aberration, does he have 100% damage reduction?
We had to test that then. We absolutely have to test that.
Holy moly, we have to test this. It's possible Tychus can have 100% damage reduction.
For Zagara?
Oh my goodness, we might have just invented 100% damage reduction Tychus. Guys, we solved double legend for Tychus.
Well, we might have solved co-op or Tychus in general.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, this is besides the point. Avatar of Essence is really, 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 really good. It's a really, really big buff, and if you have full Avatar of Essence cooldown reduction mastery and you take steadfast reinforcements for your passive top bar power, you have 50% uptime on Avatar of Essence. But that's not all, because the buff actually lingers after the Avatar itself times out. So you could have some crazy like 65-70% uptime on the buff. So you are basically just having double attack speed and 40% damage reduction on you and your ally like constantly.
And don't forget the Avatar can de-evolve the enemy, which has polarity. So you can
which also
re-rolls
their polarity, by the way. So in theory, you can kill more than half the stuff.
Oh, that's why CTG kill not one half unit.
Yes.
Oh, were you Zeratul when you were playing with Lila?
No, I was
No,
Kerrigan. I was Kerrigan when I played with Lila.
Hey, you're Kerrigan. You're a Kerrigan. You're a Kerrigan. Yeah, if you were Zeratul, then there's the potential he would have just been able to be like, oh, you devolved them? That means you rerolled the polarity, so I can kill my half again. And next thing you know, he has like triple your kills.
Yeah.
That's a
Anyway,
lot of stuff. So is he
anyways,
is he S?
you got He's not quite S, I think, for one simple reason: he can't give his ally more mobility, and the
Yeah.
avatar itself is quite slow. So on purely mobility, I think he loses out on S, but he is like really,
I don't
really
think.
high A.
I don't
He's
think-
really close to S. He's
Yeah.
really good. And you know, looking at all these A's and the disparity in their power level in A, I think the time has come to promote Kerrigan to S, honestly.
Kerrigan's S. That makes me feel.
Kerrigan is
That just makes me feel awful.
Well, I'm sorry, but you know what? We did
No,
already
I will
establish
not
that
accept it.
At least Jimmy is better than Han and Horner.
I refuse to accept using an S tier commander and getting outkilled by a C tier commander. I'm just kidding. Lila's great.
I swear, we need to like put me on our like that 1 week that I missed and you guys underrated Artanis. We need to play that together with me on Artanis and you on an S tier commander. And I can show you. I can show you. Ah!
No. Mostly because I forgot which one it was, but no.
Thunderdome. You underrated Artanis massively. Thunderdome. And you overrated Mengsk, which you admitted you overrated Mengsk afterwards, but that's besides
Which one was that? Oh, that was Thunderdome.
Thunderdome.
Magmines and Heroes on Lock and Load.
Yeah,
You
that was
guys put
Thunderdome.
Mengsk in S tier, which, yeah, you guys also questioned that afterwards in hindsight, which fair enough. And you put Artanis.
It was mostly me.
What
It was mostly me
happened?
questioning. It was mostly me questioning S tier on Arcturus. I think Tutu
Yeah.
was still defending S, but I didn't believe it was S.
I thought that he also agreed that Arcturus went down to A.
Oh.
Anyways, point is, you guys put Artanis so low. That was like an easy one for Artanis. Your Archon drop clears out all the Magmines in a base in a single drop, and you can wipe the heroes. And never mind. But that's a different mutation. Zeratul is A. That is my final answer.
How about you,
Totally
Herman?
agree. Totally agree. Yeah.
Not S?
Not there because you can't help your ally to move. Yeah, that's the only problem.
That is literally the only problem with Zeratul.
Yeah.
We've had
And in this
commanders
map, you can
before.
also trap the artifact, so you won't have.
I don't think that should count against Zeratul. Otherwise, he'll never be S on maps where he can't trap the fragments.
I don't even account for trapping the artifact at all because I just don't like that exploit and wish it didn't exist. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't count that. I still don't think he's S because he can't teleport his ally.
I don't think that's I don't think teleporting the ally is a requirement. But if you guys,
I think it's an S tier requirement.
S
Not
tier
a high A
requirement?
tier requirement, but I think an S tier requirement is that you can give your ally mobility, especially on this map, because this map does have the problem of being very fast paced and attack waves can just pop out of nowhere and get on top of the objective really, really fast, and the objective can just die and you lose instantly. This can happen even without polarity, and when you're having to deal with walking around popping reanimators with polarity, that's so much more that can distract you and allow that to happen, and you just lose like that. Mobility is a very big deal here, I think. So I think that unfortunately not having the ability to give mobility to his ally does lock him out of S tier, but puts him at the top of A tier. And I think that being an S tier against polarity at all is a huge deal. And that's the only reason that I wouldn't put Zeratul in S tier anyways, despite that weakness, because Zeratul is very, very good.
I still think he's S, but again, I've clearly been outvoted, overruled, thrown to the garbage. And
I mean, if we want to put 2 in S, I think there's an argument for putting him as the second S, but I would personally put Kerrigan in S definitely first.
Yeah,
And
Kerrigan
then after Kerrigan,
okay, I will agree with Kerrigan and S if we also put Hot and Horner up to D. How about that?
So
Han and
they
Horner
will
is
have a
high
friend.
as Alvarez. I mean, no.
I don't
just
think
can't
they're
see Han and Horner doing as well as Slayers.
I don't think they're a tier
Okay,
below.
but
They're
Alarak
worse than
doesn't have
Alarak,
any-
but not a tier worse than Alarak. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like slightly
Only
worse,
because
but not a
Battlecruisers have
tier
tactical
worse.
jump. Only because of tactical jump. They are not a whole tier worse than Elrak.
Okay, the deal has been reached. Kerrigan goes to S.
Even if that makes me feel like buffing Jimmy up a tier. Anyways, moving along.
Oh, Zeratul is an A. There we go. Now let's go for rankings. Who's the best among the S? Who's the best
Top
among
of
the...
A is going to be a tough one, actually. Because
Yeah.
there's a big, there's a lot of contenders there with Zeratul.
Well, Zeratul's
and-
top of A, right?
Yeah, Zeratul could be top of A, but then there's Phoenix and Nova, who are both very similar. And then there's even Vorazun, who has all her mobility and crowd control. It's
What about Artanis?
I don't think Artanis quite is at their level now.
Yeah, I don't think
I
Artanis...
honestly, I put Artanis in A, but I was like, he's gonna be a low A, but he is A.
Yeah, he is definitely.
Well, let's put him here preemptively.
I'm not sure he's the bottom, but he's definitely down there.
Well,
I would say after Zeratul goes the trio of the teleporting trio.
Yeah.
the ally, you're here. Ally, be here.
Yes. The teleporting trio goes next. What order is the teleporting trio?
And then Sad Boy
roll a die.
Hold on. What do you say, Herman?
Sad Boy next to Warzone, maybe. Yeah, because still a lot of mobility by use the Blue Zone.
Yeah. Setman next is a good argument, I think.
Yeah.
Then
I would even argue that Statboy is on that tier because the satellites provide vision. So even when you have reanimators crawling up, you can spot them coming and just zap them with top bars or units.
And then there's Dahaka. Dahaka is like Zeratul light, basically. He has really good tanking, really good ally buffs, but they're not Zeratul tanking and Zeratul ally buffs. Pretty much.
Not that much, yeah.
And same thing with crowd control. He has crowd control, but not Zeratul crowd control. It's like he's just Zeratul light.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that puts him below the ones who give a ton of mobility. I might even put Zeratul below the high mobility team.
I don't know. That's literally the only thing counting against him. And when you have the ability to demote enemies to make them less harmful,
Devolve is just too good. Devolve is
really good.
And allow you to potentially snipe them even when they're originally not your polarity.
Yeah,
I think that's Zeratul's an S candidate who just didn't get there because
Zeratul, like, if the enemy comp is right, depending on their comp, there are certain comps where like 90% of the units in that comp will devolve into workers.
Yeah.
Like if that's very comp dependent. But if the enemy comp is right, you can just end up seeing, oh look, we're fighting mass worker now. And the workers don't attack move or anything. They just sit there. So basically, Zeratul has effectively killed, in quotation marks, the unit by turning it into a harmless worker. Even if it's the wrong polarity, he's effectively killed it.
Effectively.
Yeah, yes. Really good. Really good. We could even argue to put Zeratul in S tier with Kerrigan for that alone, but I just don't like the fact that he doesn't have the mobility. Anyways, next up would be Tychus and then Artanis. Yeah, I think Artanis does in fact turn out to go in the bottom. Yeah.
Okay. Can we put Nova over Phoenix on the basis of defensive drone seems better than conservators? Also,
I personally would prefer Nova, but I feel like like those three are very personal preference.
I can see that
Nova,
being a thing.
Phoenix, and Zeratul, or Vorazun. Nova, Phoenix, Vorazun is very personal preference, I think.
I can see that being a thing.
Personally, I would prefer Nova, but I could easily see an argument for a different ordering. So, subjective.
I also think Nova is better than Phoenix a little bit. That's what I think personally.
Okay, well,
if
all three of us kind of have a gut feel towards Nova, then we can put Nova above.
Yeah, another thing is that you can run out of Phoenix energy, but Nova's. I guess you can kind of not be able to afford it. But
counter argument: Phoenix can recall 3 times in rapid succession because he can effectively have multiple charges of it. Nova can't do that.
I guess that's true, but you can also drop a defensive drone. So instead
Can I
of
point out, Nova was gonna be B tier before we remembered her P2 exists.
That's true.
yes, you can. I
P2
allow you to point it
Nova.
out.
We need a moment for P2 Nova here and how it has managed to have its time to shine here. This is a glorious day for Nova P2.
All right.
All right. So what about B tier now?
No. We're still in the moment.
Oh, we're still having the moment. Okay.
We're still in the. All right.
Moment of silence.
Let's go to B tier. Who's top of B?
Swan.
I think it's
Carax.
probably
I would say Carax.
Stukov or Swan.
Stukov or Swan? I think Carax. Because he does buff his ally by a lot.
The Swan is just AFK and let your ally carry.
Yeah, Carax is also really good. Man, I don't know.
Carax has so much tanking and so much buffing. I think he definitely goes
We
top
can
of
put
B.
Manx at the bottom.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
This is uncharacteristically low tier for Arcturus. Not.
It is.
He doesn't usually get B, but especially this week, B is actually bottom half. If you're B, you're bottom half of the commanders.
This is unusually bad day for Manx. But I mean, it is. The reality is he does have less to support his ally than a lot of commanders.
Actually,
so if you're assuming that you're playing against Polarity and your goal is to say, hey, you worthless ally who is bad at this game, I'm going to make you win anyways against your will.
He's
I
bottom
think
third.
the only ways to buff your ally is just Katana Strike and the Dog of War. Dog of War can provide a lot of tanks. And Katana Strike is just crowd control. Yeah, somehow crowd control. Yeah.
Technically as medics, but they're not they can't heal mech.
Yeah.
So F. And they also got nerfs to no longer have the insane turbo heal that they used to have when Mace came out. That's a pity.
Okay, so Swan and Stukov, are they above Carax or below?
I think we can leave it how it is right now. Swan is really weird because remember, again, Swan was depending on which of our two standard grading rubrics we use, he's either S tier or C tier.
I think we've had a similar discussion before surrounding Artanis on the weeks that he doesn't have a lot of firepower going for him, where he does have an option of just being the ally, but that doesn't affect his actual tier as being the player.
Yeah, but I don't think Artanis is ever that good as the ally. I think that if you're looking at the ally, even on weeks where it's not particularly clear, the laser drill is Swan's laser drill is a much better buff than Guardian Shell ever was, even before it got nerfed into the ground.
All right, hold on.
Unless
this is a particularly good spot for laser drill.
Unless there are some mutators like some mutators might have problem with laser drill. Like you don't want to attack them, but laser drill just attack them, and then they just come to your.
Yes, laser drill can have consequences. Yeah. Honestly, I would be interested to see if someone could actually do this with a quote unquote solo, except it's not actually a solo because your ally is just a Swan who does nothing but upgrade the laser drill and never leaves the base.
Hold on, I gotta get the door.
I actually wonder if someone could beat that.
Hold on, I gotta get the door. All right, let's move on. C. Who's top of C?
Rainer? Or just leave it here,
I personally would actually say Zagara, Jimmy Abather, maybe.
Zagara, Jimmy Abather. Oh, yeah, because aberration can provide damage reduction and.
Well, yeah, Abather's again weird because it's he's here because he can create a reanimator cage really, really well. Other than that, he's got nothing going for him.
Well,
technically as meant, which heals his ally. Not good enough.
Well, Vipers can still use Disabling Clouds to effectively create a "you can't hit me" zone.
That's really good. Yes, his army is just.
He can still make Swarm Hosts.
Good.
which can.
Well, his army's well. No, I wouldn't even use swarm hosts. Swarm hosts are just too low DPS. Your allies gonna be dying to stuff that you didn't kill fast enough.
For mutalisks, ultimate
So
illusion's
can
still
you,
decent.
like,
So
compare
here's my problem with Abathur is that his early game could be really bad, but then this map has a easy early game, and then we put him here based on his Vipers making a Reanimator Zoo, but without a Reanimator Zoo he could still be good. P1 Abathur, if you go P1 Abathur and you make a massive ball of mutas, it's really strong. Like it just
Yeah, so
walks over
if
everything.
you page the
I remember doing Railroad Switch with Abathur, and that was just so easy. Abathur felt like an insanely good commander for that if you use P1 Abathur. Like it was insanely good. He got way underrated on that week. Maybe Abathur might be too low of a tier. I think when I'm trying to deconstruct why I put Abathur this low of a tier, I think that the problem is that it's like I did it based on the early game. It's like that's not enough justification for how low he is, and I'm kind of just ignoring him now.
Well, a lot of the difficulty of that mutation is the early game.
No, but this mutation.
This mutation, yes.
This mutation, the early game isn't a huge amount of difficulty because you can stall out the first objective, and now you have a ton of dead space in the early game. I don't know.
I guess
even if you don't Reanimator Zoo, by the way, Abathur's still good. Mutas are high mobility. They're very like if you go P1 Muta Roach, then you have crowd control. You have a ball of mutas that does not die. Like
okay.
It does not die.
This is what we do, Sticksbender. Can you justify Abathur being above Arcturus? If so, we can put it in B.
Yeah, I can justify him being above Arcturus easily. He is his army. If you go with P1 Abathur and you go Roach Muta, then you are going to have firstly you'll have roaches that I've been using, especially lately, been using more P1 Abathur, and it's silly what those roaches could survive. They have like 1,000 health, they have hyper regeneration, they have 125% life leech. They gain armor for biomass, so they have so much armor that like a marauder comes up and it does 1 damage because they just have insanely high armor quantities. Like your roaches are very chunky and they slow attack speed. And the thing is, that's just the things that are just walking biomass pouches so that you can kill them and put it into mutas who then also don't die. They're not as good at tanking for your ally, sure, but then you just mineral dump into roaches and you're using P1, so it doesn't matter how many roaches die. You get back all the biomass. Yeah. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of hit points of tanking for your ally. It's an attack speed and move speed slow on enemies that applies to heroic units.
Oh, by the way, speaking of mobility, your Viper can technically be an ally. Come over here.
Technically, it can.
Yeah.
That's a little niche because it's only going to really be effective for like a Tychus or something, but it does work. You're right.
Yeah. And then, I was also thinking about P2's mobility, like the Roach and the Ravager Deep Tunnel might be a choice. I'm not really sure.
I think Roach Ravager Deep Tunnel. The thing that I've had when using that is I've discovered that I do that and it looks real cool until I realize the disappointing fact that I'm using roaches and ravagers and they suck in terms of if you don't have something else with them, they suck by themselves. With P1, roach ravager can be pretty good, but that's only because P1 makes sure that you don't lose any biomass. If you aren't P1, building roaches is literally a self-cripple.
And also Abduct gives like 4 seconds stun time, right? Or like yes. and you can just continuously abduct the reanimator, even if you don't trap it, like you don't cage it, you can just continue to stun the reanimator and tell your ally to kill it. If not,
or you can abduct the reanimator
into your ally.
Army.
Yeah,
nailed it.
I'm thinking that we tunnel visioned on the Reanimators Zoo of Abathur and put him way too low because of that and early game worries of unable to get an ultimate evolution. If you're using P1, you don't even need to worry about early game getting an ultimate evolution. Why is Abathur in C tier? We have made a mistake.
Abathur's in C tier because despite the early game not having a lot of strong enemies, you will still get enemies and you will need something to destroy them. So the question here is whether
and a roach And the roach doesn't die because it's a P1 roach. But if it does die, who
you said
cares? You get
6.
100% of the biomass left.
You said 6 spines. Is it 3 or 6?
6 spines. 6 spines is the let's be like really overkill and safe. 3 is let's have just enough.
With Polarity though, what if your ally's not there? I guess that applies to End Commander. Sure. Yeah, I guess that applies to End Commander.
By the way,
Toxic Nest can reduce the attack speed.
Toxic Nests reduce attack speed. They reduce move speed.
And move speed, yeah.
And they just one-shot the entire your half of the wave just is gone in like a Toxic. It one-shots like all early game units.
So, Abathur up to A tier?
Yeah.
A tier?
Honestly, yeah.
A tier?
P1 is A tier. If you're not P1, it's definitely like I would put him in like low B if you're not P1, and then an A if you are P1.
So just Roach Ravager and then transform to Muta, or
forget Ravagers. Ravagers.
Okay,
Don't waste gas on things that aren't mutas.
Okay.
Maybe Roach Speed. That is the only thing you spend gas on that isn't mutas.
Okay.
The roaches are just a mineral dump and tanking. You might want Roach Speed. I often get Roach Speed, but it's map dependent. This map I would get Roach Speed. And I would say Roach Muta. Roach Speed is the only gas you spend on your roaches. Other than that, it's pure Muta and Muta upgrades.
Okay, so we're in A.
Probably right behind Dahaka. Well, yeah, behind Dahaka. Right behind Dahaka. Above Tychus.
How about you, Herman?
I'm thinking between Artanis and Tychus. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Tychus feels really solid, and you can do well even though you're not controlled like a maniac. You can be like
I'm gonna tell you right now, it's a move. It's just a move. With Roach Muta Abathur on P1, it's just a move.
Yeah, but you have to macro.
The early game just spines and Toxic Nest, and then Roach and Mutas. Yeah.
I demonstrated on Railroad Switch that it's very effective, very easy. I just A-clicked all game that game, and
you even don't manually use the Toxic Nest. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. You don't even have to manually use Toxic Nest. You can, but you don't have to. You really don't.
Okay, so just
P1 Abathur. I think people have been sleeping on how strong P1 Abathur actually can be.
Okay, so somewhere between Dahaka and Artanis.
Dahaka and Tychus.
Yeah, it's basically a debate as whether he's better or worse than Tychus. I feel better than Tychus just because he can tank so much more than Tychus, and
that's can give vision.
Because he has a global mend on his ally, and finally because his mutas walk faster than anything Tychus has. So if you want to just quickly swing by and pop a Reanimator, mutas are fast. Tychus is not. It sucks to have to use a medevac to deal with a Reanimator. Using a whole medevac deal for a Reanimator sucks.
Yeah, like
and you have to do that to match the power of just
one get back. Yeah.
Right?
Is there an argument to have Abathur over Dahaka?
I feel like the Dahaka buffs from P1 are a little too strong for that.
Yeah,
he's definitely over non-P1 Dahaka, but non-P1 Dahaka didn't even make A tier in my opinion.
Yes.
Okay, so if not over Dahaka, I think over Tychus, because I think what clinches it for me is disabling Cloud. It's really good.
And Abduct.
Abduct, yeah. So basically still Vipers, but just how good are Vipers? Apparently this good.
I personally would use no Vipers, but I think that you could use Vipers. But I think that you can also just not use Vipers. If you don't think you have the APM to use Vipers, you think, oh, I want to use such a high APM, just A move roaches and mutas and be surprised. So just make sure you don't die early game by building excess spine crawlers. Just build as many spine crawlers as makes you feel comfortable. If that means you build 8 spine crawlers, that's probably not too many still, honestly. You're mostly gas limited, not mineral limited. So you can afford a lot of spines.
So do we need to upgrade all the upgrades for Roach or just the Roach speed?
No, just roach speed. No,
Oh.
no weapons and armor. Just no roach speed.
No deep tunnel. Like no, not deep tunnel. Like when you like
Tunneling claws are useless anyways.
Oh
Because
yeah.
fun fact, when Blizzard buffed Abathur's roaches a while back, they only applied those buffs to the unburrowed version of the roach. So half your biomass buffs only apply while unburrowed.
Oh.
That's funky.
Because Blizzard can't code right. And that still hasn't been fixed. So burrowing roaches is actually bad. Like really, it makes them suddenly become fragile.
Okay, so let's move on. Wait, hold on. Is Arcturus clearly better than Raynor here? A tier better than Raynor? Are we back at the moment?
I'd have to think about that. I think
thinking as well.
my first inclination is to say yes, but I'd have to think about it for a sec.
Because Mank's bunker is really good. Like it's tanky, and you can build it anywhere, and you can just drop down a bunker at any place where you have vision, or just fog of war. You can just drop a bunker. Yeah.
I guess
And
at the end of the day, Arcturus has a way to attack suppression towers completely safely, whereas Raynor needs to engage with an army or a top bar. So I think that
because
glitches.
the suppression tower doesn't have polarity, so
Yes. So I think that confirms Arcturus definitely a tier above Raynor here.
Also, P3 makes it a bit easier than Raynor, because Raynor, if you completely screw it up and lose your army, then you completely screwed it up and lose your army. If you completely screw it up with Manx P3, you lose a P0 army, and then there stops being stuff to kill you.
Unless there's
Or at
polarity.
least the stuff that's the or polarity.
Who's better between Raynor and Zagara?
Raynor?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I guess
so.
Raynor has bunkers. Raynor doesn't have to worry about.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
I
nothing
guess.
to do with bunkers. It's to do with drop pods.
Yeah, drop pods.
And medic.
Yeah, okay. Raynor above Zagara. Is that a whole tier above Zagara?
No.
No, not that.
No, they're close.
Okay.
I actually considered saying Zagara above Raynor, but then drop pods and medic is too good.
Okay.
Does magic heal gives a damage reduction?
Yes, it does.
Oh yeah, and it can heal mech unit.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay. So D is already correctly ordered. Right?
Oh, and I think medic can even heal spines, right?
They can I think they can definitely heal omega worms. Not sure about spines.
Yeah, then they can heal spines. It was a question of they can heal structures, right? Yes. Okay. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Literally. Yeah.
So now, those are the rankings. Do we have synergies of low tier commanders who could potentially be better than the sum of their parts?
Dahaka and Jimmy.
Dahaka and Jimmy.
I know.
Oh yes, yes.
But I know Dahaka's kind of up there already. But oh boy, Jimmy's bio ball with P1 Dahaka. Ooh, wow. Ooh, deletion. The entire base lasts approximately 3 seconds.
Or maybe Dahaka and Abathur can actually activate in the early game. You can actually get ultimate evolutions.
No. You're just gonna create problems for yourself. They're both weak early game, and you're just going to create problems for yourself by just causing reanimators to come before you're ready, and you're just gonna. It's just no. They're both weak.
If you're up against Protoss or Zerg, I think even against Terran, you can actually get a Brutalisk pretty fast with just the expansion defenders and the ones.
If you mess that up, then great, you don't have a Brutalist because you messed it up, and now there's a Reanimator, and you just straight up die, like lose the game.
I think having Dahaka out is enough of a safety precaution to allow that to make it.
Almost any other hero unit would be a better candidate for that. Kerrigan's a better hero unit for that. Gary's a better hero unit for that.
The difference is The difference is
Institutes are a better
those
choice, but-
heroes come out at 4 minutes, which is too late, I think, to try that. Whereas the Haha comes out at 1 minute.
But level 1, the Hog is really weak.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're just asking for a reanimator to kill you before the game even starts.
But you can still devour, or at least bait them into toxic
I'd
nests.
honestly argue.
But there is a
I'd
chance that
argue
all units
it's an
all units is
anti-synergy.
non-bush.
I would argue it's an anti-synergy because it tempts you to do something that could kill you before the game even starts.
I don't think it's that easy to die if you have. Oh well, it's a matter of opinion. I think it's a
But
synergy.
Dahaka and Jimmy is a good example. Yeah, Dahaka and Jimmy is good.
How about Stukov and Zagara? Because Zagara is slow to reinforce if you're from the main base, but if you have the creep highway provided by Stukov. Plus, if you have aberrations,
a big difference, but I guess it's the thing.
if you have aberrations over Stukov's trickle, it could
It's
be.
a thing. I don't think it's the greatest synergy you could come up with, but yeah, it's a thing. Let's see. Is there anything that we could say for Stukov with like someone in D tier?
So Alarak or Han and Horner.
Kind of.
How
Like-
about Zagara and Han and Horner? You can have the Hellions or non-flying Reapers with aberrations. Maybe they can be even better.
Nah, because the aberrations are melee, and the Hellbats would be melee as well. But yeah, then you scatter the enemies with the fear,
Oh, yeah,
and now your
that's true.
aberrations are going into a concave, and not sure that's a great synergy. Stukov though is the one who's the most likely chance of synergy because of just basically anyone who has the ability to just walk up and like while the infested ball is pushing forward, just walk up and sit behind the infested ball and delete all that stuff that's theirs is a good team with Stukov, I think.
Okay.
So
You can also
Han
have
and Horner's
siege
area
tanks
is-
with Stukov, which will also help empower me if you're Alarak.
So Stukov would actually go quite well with Sky Rainer or Sky
Yes.
Han and Horner if you want to do
Or
that.
even mass destroyers.
Yeah, that could also work too, although they have less range, so it's not quite as impactful. But yes.
I guess.
Well, not less range than Han and Horner's battlecruisers, because for some reason Han and Horner's battlecruisers, even when spamming Yamato cannon, have only 6 range for some reason, because Han and Horner just have to be bad.
That's
Anyway,
sad.
that's the point.
That's
and then
really sad.
Wrathwalkers also are actually better than destroyers, arguably, because they walk over the infested. Yeah, there's a good way to use Wrathwalkers. Stick them with a Stukov.
Yeah. Good option. Good option.
All right. Anyway,
All right. I
we
think
did it.
that's enough synergies for this week. Guys, watch Styxbender and Herman's channels. I will link down below, and I will see you guys next time.